So, as these people create this new one world religion free of nuclear weapons, where we're all confused about what gender we were born in, and they destroy all of our cultural mindsets and create the one world education that'll reinforce all the things I just mentioned, we need to understand what their long term goals are after they achieve these. The public statements of their efforts include the fact that humanity will merge into God and have a union of mind and spirit because we were all becoming God. And this was quoted by Robert Taylor in the 1960s. He was a prominent United Nations guy, and um, he spoke a lot about what the United Nations was based on and where the philosophy came from. And this is where it gets really interesting because many people don't understand that the United Nations philosophy is based on the channeled writings of Alice Bailey and published by the Lucifer Trust. Originally, it was called the Lucifer Trust, but over time it was changed to the Lucius Trust. But I think you get the idea of who these people are hoping to bring about the rule of the world of Lucifer. Otherwise, the United Nations would not have based their manifesto and their other documents on the writings of this woman, Alice Bailey. Now, she was inspired by Aleister Crowley. A lot of people may be familiar with him, but he was a famous warlock and Satanist who himself was a transgender. And you may see him many times with, it's kind of a freaky looking fat guy with a pyramid on his head with the all seeing eye, the eye of the Jesuits, the eye of perdition. He was highly connected to everyone from the royal families of Europe, all the politicians during World War II, including down to he didn't die until the last century. So he kind of had famous rock stars and stuff that were following him too. So he was a powerful occult figure, and he is commonly regarded as the father of the New Age movement and the Lucifer Trust movement. So most people, I guess, may not be comfortable with the fact that he was a warlock or occultist, but many people are. And according to the United Nations group of Marxists, he's the perfect candidate to structure their beliefs for the coming new world. So other goals that this group has are to implement an educational system that includes sexual perversions taught to children. Many people may understand that this has already been implemented, where we have reports of kindergartners learning about unspeakable sex acts, role playing in high schools. If you get caught cheating on your husband, what to do if he finds you in bed with another man. I mean, this is literally being taught in schools. They're forcing children to use the term he or she, whatever the child identifies with. So this is just the beginning of the sexual perversions taught to children. We can see big companies like Facebook and other groups that have tried to add pedophilia onto the end of the LGBTQ. They've added a P on the end, and they've been trying to promote that for the last few years. We've got here in California where they've reduced the age of consent for a young boy. So someone who's underage, a man technically can't be charged with rape if they're overage. So we're seeing this occur in all different venues of our society today. So this is really scary because children should be innocent. They shouldn't be thinking about sex. They shouldn't be thinking about cheating on their future spouse when they're in grade school. So I think most people can agree that teaching sexual perversions to children isn't the goal they believe the United Nations was fostering, nor did they believe that's what the Pope through the Jesuit system is promoting. So I think we all understand that erasing nationalism is a huge movement of the New World Order group. They want to erase people's allegiance to their local groups and their societies because they need us all to come to one mind groupthink, We're basically robots in the New World Order with no personal nationalistic beliefs, no religious beliefs, and no beliefs here or there whether children should be sexualized. So they also want to remove patriotism and the parents' beliefs. And this is in full force right now. I don't think anyone in any country can really question the fact that we're being moved away from being patriotic towards the people and the countries and the customs that we have, and also that parents have a strong educational mandate for their children to teach them what their beliefs are, why their beliefs are that, and how they can live a happy and successful life with the parents' belief system strongly and firmly set in place. So now that we've removed all of that, the nationalism, the perversions, the patriotism, and the person's beliefs, the parents' beliefs, we're now going to remove history from all of the school books. And this has been a long-term goal of people like George Soros, who've been lobbying to remove history and economics from school for years. Of course, George Soros is just a tool in the big toolbox of the world elite. He himself is a former Nazi and a strong contributor and co-founder of MAMBLA, the Man-Boy Love Association. So if you weren't concerned enough that George Soros, a former Nazi, is financing the Democratic Party and the liberal movement worldwide and many other similar movements in other countries worldwide, he's also a proponent of removing the history and economics teachings from school. So children don't understand the mistakes of the past and they don't understand economics, so they can continue to believe that the government will provide everything for them and that everything will be free. That's not true. Anytime in history this system has been implemented, hundreds of millions of people have been slaughtered many times by their own countrymen. So, removing history from school, I think we can all agree, is not a good idea. Then it gets even stronger, and right to the heart of what they really want to do is they want to remove the parents' religious beliefs and create an environment where children turn against their parents. Wow! Now, if any of the things that I just mentioned sound familiar to anyone listening to me, over the last few years, you don't know how many of my friends' parents, children and parents alike, have come home from one semester at college, and my friends are telling me, my son hates me. He hates our family. He hates everything we stand for. He hates our country, yet he wants all of the benefits to be given him for free while he's railing and working against his parents' beliefs, but he still is open to taking their money so he can go back to school and be brainwashed by this same group of people I just mentioned, whose main goal is to take over the educational system so in the long term they can remove the history, they can remove the parents' religious beliefs, and turn their children against their parents. So this is pretty scary to anyone. I'm not sure if my listeners understood that these are the long-term goals, that our government is donating billions of dollars a year and basically in all military actions and other activities leading the world towards these goals. So if the United States is based on a constitution of individual rights, individual freedoms, and the individual right to worship God as they see fit without government intervention or government prosecution, then the United Nations is not the mechanism that they believe it is to bring about this world, this new world. So Robert Mueller, another United Nations person, did a lot of statements in writing, and he reinforces the belief that we can all become gods. The goal is to have everyone in the world give up their individuality for the love of their fellow man and goodwill. This spirit of inclusiveness will be implemented under the doctrine of the right brotherhood of man, will allow humanity to avoid irresponsible behavior and prepare for the immortal leader, the one, or the absolute supreme. And these names are all the Masonic names for Lucifer. Freemasonry is was created by the Jesuits, who are served the dark pope. Many people may have heard of the white pope and the dark pope. The dark pope is a Jesuit, and he is Lucifer on earth. Whereas historically, the white pope believed himself to be Jesus on earth. But today, we have a Jesuit white pope, which is against Vatican law and principle. So we now understand why the dark Jesuit pope has overtaken the white pope who believed himself to be Jesus on earth and is now moving towards the one world, one government ruled by Lucifer. And if you don't believe that Lucifer is the person that these people are worshiping, you might want to go directly to the writings of Alice Bailey herself, where she describes it is Satan who is God of this planet and the only God. So, for people who are promoting the United Nations, lobbying the United Nations, listening to what the United Nations is promoting in the world, supporting the unprecedented invasion of other countries by United Nations forces, where they have already usurped the power of the General Congress and parliaments of each individual nation by creating a New World Order government of the United Nations, where people have no representation in the government system, where they have unelected officials, and these people are using our money, our tax dollars, and the power of the Western nations to bring about the New World Order ruled by Lucifer, where we will all think, act, and behave in the same way, where we will all serve the universal Christ, Lucifer. So thank you for listening to what I had to say. I just want to sign off on a last statement by Mr. Keyes from the United Nations that reminds us Lucifer will give man wholeness, and the United Nations is not a man-made creation. So if men did not create the United Nations, who did? Thank you for listening today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get the news out so we can all have a better understanding.